Welcome to Britain's busiest steam railway. Winding through some of England's most stunning scenery, this is the North Yorkshire Moors Railway.
The sun's shining, the birds are singing, and the train's on time.
Each year, 500,000 people flock here to journey back to the golden age of steam.
I'm so excited because I'm on a steam train.
In this series, we get the inside track from the people who keep the railway running.
Mimi.
There's engine shed manager Piglet.
There's some sprinklings of soot in it, just to add to the flavour.
Boss Chris.
Did anybody ever refer to me as the fat controller?
Dining manager Jill.
I want to wear my glasses because I can't see anything.
And the man who keeps the engines firing, head boilersmith Mark.
The romance of steam.
This time, it's peak season, but does the railway have enough engines to cope?
We've fallen down a bit on our unique selling point, which is steam engines.
The events team suffer a bout of pre-wedding nerves.
We do not want to be responsible for ruining someone's day.
There's high drama on murder mystery night.
Sammy's under a bit of stress tonight. If they don't murder someone, I will.
And Piglet's precious engine comes out of retirement.
I'm genuinely terrified at the moment. Waiting for a bang.
So jump on board and hold tight. It's going to be quite a ride. The Heritage Railway is steaming towards the summer season, its busiest time of the year. And this weekend, they'll be running up to 17 scheduled trains a day.
It's a very, very busy day. Everything that rolls will be rolling. It still, however, stretches us logistically. It pushes us to a limit.
The railway's running an extended service on the National Main Line all the way to the seaside at Whitby. But only 2 of their steam engines are registered to run on mainline track. So if one of them breaks down, they'll have to replace it with a diesel. It's not a popular alternative, as General Manager Chris knows only too well.
Our USP is steam engines on the front of trains. You can tell people a diesel is a heritage piece of traction, and it is recreating the past, but it's only steam that actually gives you that full heritage immersion feel. You've only got to stand at the booking office for 10 minutes and listen to questions. What time's the next steam train? Is this steam?
Get into Whitby at 13:45.
Is that steam?
When I went on the trains abroad, there's so much more romance. You could hear the steam engine going, and there's all the smoke going by the side of the carriage windows.
And then you get the doot-doot, don't
That's
you?
right.
Yeah.
The demand for steam train rides has never been higher. But keeping the ageing fleet running is no mean feat. It's a job that falls to engine shed manager Paul, known affectionately to all as Piglet.
The Black Five's just come back for exam, and the late shift fit has discovered a broken tender spring. It's 3:30 now, and it's got to be on the 4:30. So we've got an hour to change the spring.
All the steam engines are between 60 and 99 years old, so there's always something to fix.
Proper broken, like. It's like a Formula One pit stop, this, but for a steam engine. But I've got a bit of a bad back, so I'm having to just supervise. Is that heavy?
Yes.
Piglet's got over 20 years' experience under his belt.
Now that's going to try and fall out, Bungle, so just be careful. A real man won't drop it.
A real man might lend a hand.
I'll get in my mobility forklift to lift it off.
If he doesn't get a shift on, there'll be disappointed passengers. But that's not all.
I told Mrs. I'll be home for 4:30, so the pressure's on. Ah! Oh, pain. Just my back's hurting, you see. I'm not very good at driving this, so don't get too close. The brakes are a bit rubbish.
What's that old line about workmen blaming their tools?
Mimi! How's that? I can't go any further if there's a steam engine in the way.
New spring in position, there's a race on to finish the job and get Piglet home for his tea.
One thing I have noticed about this job is Barney needs to pull his belt up a few notches. I keep seeing his duds. Yeah, that's it. Pull his trousers up, that's it. You know, it's all about teamwork. Is that it?
Yeah, well done.
There we are then. 36 minutes. Well done, chaps. That was good. No one will know the efforts we've gone to get this. Pit stop, Formula One style. Teamwork, that's what it's all about.
Back on track, the Black 5 pulls out of the yard to collect its unsuspecting passengers. But last year, 20% of the railway steam service failed and had to be replaced with diesel engines. This season, they're determined to do better. Twice a day, a skilled team of staff and volunteers examine the engines, and when the drivers knock off, they feed back on how the old girls are running.
Defect cards. I'm sick of them.
Many years ago, we used to have green cards, which is no faults found. But we got rid of them because they didn't get used very often, so we've just got yellow ones now. We've got 14 engines up there, and we've got 4 running, and we've got
14 that we could run.
14 that we could sort of run. So when you say it like that, that's
a bit rubbish, really.
That's a bit rubbish, really, isn't it?
To attract interest, heritage railways sometimes borrow different engines from other lines. And ever generous, Piglet's promised to loan out one of his. But with only 4 engines running, the timing isn't great.
When I organised this, I kind of was hoping that I'd be in a slightly better position for engines than I am now.
Oh, the way she moved, oh, she really grew.
Unfortunately, it's got to go on the back of a wagon. And ironically, it's actually usually cheaper to send them on the back of a lorry than it is by rail.
This engine isn't registered to run on mainline track, so it's got to travel by road.
I suppose it's in the back of your mind while it's going down motorway that you don't have a blowout on Wagoner out.
Well, I've had problems before now where the neck of the trailer's broke off and it's dug into the ground, and it takes some moving off a motorway and engine.
Piglet's never driven a steam train onto a lorry before, but there's a first time for everything.
He's a learner driver, you see at this. I should have put L plates on, really, shouldn't I? You happy there?
Yeah.
Not bad at all, was it, for his first time? Quite impressed.
Piglet's not quite so confident about saying goodbye to his precious engine.
I always get a little bit nervous. I mean, it's like giving your keys to someone else to your car and hand it over to them and say, hey, borrow that for the weekend, you know.
With 1 engine off on holiday, Piglet now has only 3 working engines. If one of these breaks down, he won't be able to run a full steam service.
In theory, providing nothing has a wobbler, we should be all right, you know. And it's only got a week, innit? I can live with that.
What could possibly go wrong? Coming up, a railway wedding first flirts with disaster.
It's tradition for the bride to be late.
Yeah, I know, but you've got a train at 1:30.
And Piglet's under pressure to keep his engines rolling out.
Hurry up! Get another one quick!
It's the start of a new day at the Heritage Railway, and there's already trouble at the engine sheds. Head boilersmith Mark is deep in the bowels of a boiler.
This morning, got a phone call to say the engine is leaking. What can we do about it? I'm fast asleep in bed this time, so I don't know. They have the good days and the bad days. Today, this one's having its bad day.
And it's not the only one. A second steam engine has decided to pull a sickie. Even engine shed manager Piglet's getting stuck in.
Right, my special stick. It's the apprentice motivator tool, yeah. It's handy for all kinds of things, this stick. Some are more painful than others.
Mark's having to work inside the boiler before it's properly cooled down.
The temperature is definitely the sort of temperature you'd like to be on a beach.
Workmate Chris is at the cushier end of the operation.
Oh, cheers, mate.
Passing bottles of water, passing tools, and if he keels over through dehydration, I drag him out.
The romance of steam.
All right. Go, hurry up! The arms are...
Right, coming out. Oh, look at that, not even a speck of dirt on me.
All right, there you are, Andrew. It's all on you now.
Frantic repairs complete on both engines. Mark now needs to get his breathing steam.
People could come in from all over the country. I don't know where they're coming from. I just know they're coming here to see a steam engine. It'd be nice if we do what we're set out to do. That's it. There's not much more we can do other than wait now.
Building a full head of steam can take 4 hours, which means the engine won't make its first run of the day.
It's just one of them things that happens, you know. I need 100% availability, so one little hiccup like this and it screws the job up somewhat.
It falls to station staff to pass on the bad news to expectant day trippers.
It's a bit disappointing when they've come specifically for a ride on a steam train and then, unfortunately, we have to put a diesel on. We've got to sort of be a bit tactful and keep everyone happy.
For General Manager Chris, it's an unfortunate situation.
We've fallen down a bit on our unique selling point, which is steam engines. It's disappointing, but we are low on steam engines, so you have to accept that there will be the occasional day, which this is one of those, where that doesn't happen to such a great extent.
The railway doesn't only have problems with its steam engines, as manager of carriage and wagon Kieran is about to find out.
First time this week I thought I'd actually get away early, and it's not happened.
The track at Gromont platform is subsiding.
I didn't realise how bad that track had got. It's terrible. It's breaking the backs on the sleepers like that. There's no way you can possibly run a heavy locomotive down it or even put coaching stock on it now.
The section of track is condemned and the lucrative dining train has to be shortened.
This would be normally a 7-coach train parked here. We've had to put it down to 4 to 5 coaches.
Losing the coaches couldn't have come at a worse time. The railway's about to host its first ever on-board wedding. Hospitality and events manager Tim needs the wedding to be a success to avoid a potential PR disaster.
We've had quite a testing week. It was meant to be different carriages, but they got taken off because there is a subsidence issue. Because of that, we are in the brake van. It was meant to be in a regular carriage.
The staff are under pressure to ensure the brake van doesn't disappoint the happy couple.
She was a bit concerned because on the other carriage she'd got the area where she could stand, wouldn't she?
Yeah.
And obviously she'd got that pictured in her mind how everything was going to work.
And as always, the biggest worry for everyone is, will it be a steam train?
I will be quite disappointed if we don't get a steam engine, never mind the bride and groom. The photos won't be as pretty in front of a diesel.
Over at the engine shed, the crew were working hard to get the wedding loco ready. So far, so good.
This one, not got that much steam on yet. Don't want to fetch her up too soon.
And the romance of the occasion hasn't gone unnoticed.
So it's my wedding anniversary today, I've just remembered.
Reminds me, I need the car for later this week.
Despite the drizzle, everyone seems to be in a romantic mood. Except perhaps for head chef Sammy. She's still waiting for her chap to pop the question.
No update on my proposal yet. I'll let you know though as soon as he does. Maybe it's your turn to propose to him. I've tried. But then he's like, oh no, I want to ask you. And I'm like, well, ask me then.
A wedding on wheels inevitably comes with its own unique challenges.
With any ceremony that's not in your traditional venue, it's just a case of, you know, doing your best. If it suddenly jolts and the guests fall over, to me it adds to a little bit of the difference of the day.
The nature of the business, things can go wrong. I do appreciate, you know, this is obviously like the most important day of their lives. People are paying a lot of money. We do not want to be responsible for ruining someone's day.
Over at the engine sheds, there's an emotional reunion. After a week hauling passengers in the Midlands, Piglet's engine has come back home without a scratch.
80136 returns. I'm not going to let it go now. That's it, it's had its holiday. I might actually get some sleep this next coming week. Turn off from railways just for a brief moment. Then again, I doubt it.
On the platform, it's time for the engine and the wedding guests to arrive. And time for bridegroom Neil to get nervous.
I'm on the verge of marrying my childhood sweetheart of 40 years. It's been a long time getting here, and we've got 6 minutes, apparently.
The million-dollar question with the wedding party is whether the bride's going to turn up on time. Where do you order 1:30? It is now 24 minutes past 1. If the guard waves the flags, we go.
Fair enough. But the bride's timekeeping isn't the only hiccup.
I forgot the ring. I've got to give it to my best man.
Nothing a sprint across to the car park can't put right. Getting back, well, that's another matter.
It's stuck. I think they're waiting for this diesel one to go out before we can cross.
If the diesel doesn't get a move on, this steam train wedding could turn into a very brief encounter.
I'm getting a little bit nervous now. It's getting a bit close to the time.
If ever there was a time to panic, it's now. The bride's right behind him.
Well, it's a tradition for the bride to be late.
Yeah, not when you've got a train that leaves at 1:30.
Never in his life has Neil been so happy to board a train, narrowly avoiding the bad luck of seeing the bride.
Head down.
I'm sorry I'm delaying you.
And they're off. Or at least some of them are.
Somebody's not got on.
Who is?
I don't know.
And once they're rolling, there's no going back.
If you're late, we don't wait.
Is Dick here?
Yes.
Yes.
That's the bride's father.
We haven't left anyone, is here? Yeah, he's here.
At last, the wedding's finally on track.
Tunnel of Doom.
It's a dream come true for bride Natalie.
I'm so excited because I'm on a steam train. And I'm getting married, so it's like, oh.
How many ticks in one box?
I know. We're nearly ready for you. You've all quiet now.
It's time.
Welcome aboard the North York Moors Railway and to the wedding of Natalie and Neil. Any person present knows of any legal reason why these two people should not be joined in matrimony, declaring now.
Don't even dare.
I now pronounce you husband and wife, and Neil may now kiss the bride.
Despite the somewhat shaky start, the wedding is a triumph for the railway.
All going to plan. No real dramas. We're all happy, I think.
All perhaps except Sammy, who can but dream of her big day. Repairs are due to start on the condemned track at Gromont, and it's Kieran's job to transport all the heavy equipment needed for the work.
I seem to get all the unusual jobs. Anything what's heavy or different to move. Where like monster moves.
It's unusual for the railway to run maintenance trains during passenger service hours because they tend to get in the way.
But I can't pass that because that board's against me, so it's as far as I can go here. If we get a chance for a cup of tea, that's more important, isn't it?
Up ahead, there's a passenger train that needs to get through.
So what do we do now? We are completely in the way now.
Ominously, boss Chris is on the train Kieran's holding up. He's got his cuppa.
That's Mr. Price there, waiting in front of us.
I've got the passenger train at a stand. Come back in the platform, please.
Set him back.
Kieran has to reverse to let the passenger train through.
Stop.
This is like the big railways. This is what happens with freight trains all the time. You're a very low priority, so the passenger trains always kick you off into the sidings. So I turn this off and go down for a cup of tea.
That's a negative.
We're trapped here till there's a path for us. We haven't had a cup of tea since 8 o'clock this morning.
There's only so long the signalman dare stand between Kieran and his cuppa.
We'll just try our hardest to beat the next train to the next station. It's because we haven't had a cup of tea. That's why it's all going wrong, isn't it?
The way this is panning out, he should have taken a flask. Deary me.
Gentlemen, down train will be arriving in 9 minutes. So, I need you to come back down to the signal box, please.
It's 1 step forward, 3 steps back.
This job would be good if you didn't have to deal with people, wouldn't it? Set him back.
Set back.
Just me in a train, I'd be quite happy.
Someone give that poor lad a brew.
Right, what we're going to do, once the service trains have gone through, light to Gromont on the back of the 130.
Back to Gromont. Being pushed into the side in here because there's passenger trains in the way, and then I can head back again and start the whole journey from beginning.
After hours of being mucked about, Kieran eventually makes it to Pickering and collects the equipment for the track fix at Gromont. With raw materials safely on board, he's got 10 minutes to load a digger.
We're trying our hardest to load this digger on as quick as we can, so we don't delay the service, but this afternoon's going a lot better than this morning has.
With everything on board, Kieran heads to Pickering and all's right again with the world.
Sun's shining, we're fully loaded up, we're flying along now, so perfect. All we need is an ice cream as finish it out.
Grand idea.
What an achievement this has been today. Our day is now over.
Coming up, crisis talks at the engine shed. Do they have enough steam power to keep the railway running?
You wouldn't have survived last year with these engines. Can we still cope with the peak?
And the balancing act of serving food and entertainment on Murder Mystery Night is enough to send Sammy off the rails.
If they don't murder someone, I will.
A new day dawns on the Heritage Railway, and volunteer engine cleaner Emma is up with the lark. Her job is to prep the steam engines for the day's busy service.
If this engine doesn't have steam by the time the crew get here, it can't go anywhere. And then we end up having to send diesels out or cancelling services, and it's a big problem. Cleaners are the only reason these things run in the morning. Once people become a fireman, they don't like doing this job.
Emma's determined to serve her time as a cleaner to achieve her dream job.
I want to be a fireman. I stood on the footplate a few years ago, and I looked around the cab, and I was just absolutely astounded at it. Fell in love with it straight away.
Hello.
Being on the bottom rung of the fireman's ladder means Emma gets all the best jobs.
Pressure's coming round nicely now. Cab's being cleaned. The crew's arrived, so hopefully we'll be ready.
To qualify as a fireman, Emma needs to pass an exam and complete nigh on 100 shifts on the footplate. Today, she's on the first train from Pickering to Gromont.
Right away. Almost on time. A couple of minutes down, but we'll make that up.
The fireman has to gauge how much coal the boiler needs to produce enough steam power for the journey, which means keeping one eye on the track ahead.
One of those things that can be quite difficult to keep on top of. You still have to know where you are on the railway whilst you're firing.
Too much coal and you're simply burning money. Too little and the engine will literally run out of steam. It's a clever balancing act, especially when you throw a few Yorkshire hills into the mix.
Railway has quite a lot of hills. I think the biggest climb we've got is a 1 in 49. The engine's really working to get up that.
Emma has to keep the boiler at 200 pounds of pressure all the way up the hill, or the engine will sulk and run out of chuff.
We're starting up on the hill now. So because we're on the incline, we can really start the engine to start to work.
It's a smooth run up the 1 in 49.
Not doing too bad. There's a few more hills yet, but that's the worst of it done.
As they glide into Gromont platform, Emma's another shift closer to achieving her dream.
That was good, Emma. Thank you very much.
With the right training, I know that I can do this. It's not just men that play trains.
These majestic engines certainly draw in the crowds. The tragedy is the railway has another 10 awaiting overhaul or restoration. Bringing them back to life will take time, money, and buckets of goodwill.
When you think, where's the realistic side to this? Why don't people get real? You have to remember we're in an industry made out of dreams, and every one of those locomotives is a group's dream, and they will work tirelessly to achieve it.
The railway's desperate to get another engine back into service this summer. Piglet's pinning his hopes on Repton, a 1934 schools class engine.
This has been on restoration for about 5 years now. First engine I ever worked on when I came here. First engine I ever rode on as well on my 17th birthday. Looks the part, probably my favourite engine.
Restoring an engine takes thousands of skilled man-hours, and in charge of bringing Repton's powerhouse back to life is head boilersmith Mark.
Normally you can't get in to do these things in here because of the design of the boiler. You can get inside it.
A working engine's boiler is a bubbling cauldron of scalding hot water, so it's essential they're treated with proper care.
There's no skipping corners. We regularly examine, we regularly maintain them, because if they're not managed correctly, if they're not looked after by the crews correctly, they could explode quite easily.
It's a responsibility all who work here are only too aware of. Owen is a mechanical fitter working on Repton, and with a master's degree in chemistry, knows a thing or two about explosions.
A steam engine is potentially, and I emphasise the word potentially, is a bomb on wheels. There was an incident in America. It was a 12-ton traction engine, and the pressure of steam launched this thing 10 feet in the air. Now, that's the sort of potential damage you're talking about. That's the sort of energy that these boilers have in them.
The battle to increase their number of operational steam engines is an ever-present concern for General Manager Chris. And when he's worried about it, everyone's going to know about it.
This grey and miserable, cold Monday morning, we're off to Gromont to talk about steam engine provision. If we don't put steam engine on the front of the trains, then when we charge people £29 of their ticket and they sit behind something they're not expecting to sit behind, then we're in trouble.
And more in trouble than most are the lads down at the engine shed.
Do you know when Chris is turning up?
I have no idea. I've just been told he's on his way.
Right, OK. If he's in a bad mood, I'll keep him out of the way. I'm not nervous around. Chris is in the yard.
He's in the company car and he's coming over the yard.
Nah, it can't be. Can he?
Piglet's in the jacuzzi, is he? Morning, chaps.
Morning.
We're good?
Greetings.
Just talk about steam engines and things.
But no, things are better than they were Friday.
Are they?
Yeah.
Chris calls the lads into the meeting room.
You wouldn't have survived on last year's timetable with these engines. Can we still cope with the peak?
We only ever need maximum of 2 Whitby engines. If we get Repton done, that's happy days.
Getting Repton up and running gives them their best chance of delivering a full steam service this summer.
So, right, we need to set a realistic timescale for finishing it now, if you really had to be nailed down.
It's a relatively easy engine to assemble once the boiler's in. There's not a lot to it.
You almost need to go out onto the shop floor now, hang a sign from the roof and say, the plan is to get this finished for June, lads. Let's see if we can do it.
The whip hand dealt, it's all hands on deck to get Repton back into service.
All the engines are out, which is good, really, because it means we can keep all these boys putting Repton's boiler together. That's the regulator, that's the bit that makes it go. Getting that on's a bit of a bonus.
Piglet's even roped his brother in on the job.
Just like me, but he doesn't talk and he doesn't spend money and he ain't got a ball patch. There we go. I can see from here, right, that that's not square, Daniel. So, the question is, are you going to get water in it by end of the week?
From Sunday.
Yeah. So the end's in sight, innit? That's the important thing. If you do it, you can have a free ice cream out the shed shop. That's your bonus. Oh, there! Oh, I've just stood in a tub of grease.
Over on the platform, it's the start of a busy evening for the Pullman train.
Hello. Are you part of the big party?
We are.
And dining manager Jill plans to make a killing.
Tonight, it is murder mystery night. We do 2 murder mysteries every year and they're always full. A lot of them will have come dressed up for the occasion, and we always have a post-mortem on the platform at the end.
The grisly theme to tonight's event is the circus.
You shut up that noise.
There'll be little room for clowning around once everyone's on board.
Sammy's under a bit of stress tonight because there's a little bit more to do. It's a new menu. She might end up murdering someone if they get in the way.
Yeah, new menu. Quite stressful to start off with. Fitting everything in ovens as well, couldn't fit everything in.
Fitting in's going to be a problem for everyone tonight. The 8 actors are performing a 3-act murder mystery at the same time as the waiters serve a 3-course dinner. With scenes going on simultaneously in each carriage, it's got the makings of a farce rather than a thriller.
Main course, nightmare.
Wobbly trains and waitresses.
We fall in a few people's laps, but they like that.
Yeah.
The passengers don't have to wait long for events to take a gruesome turn.
Just leaving Gromont now. 104 people to feed, but there's been a murder, so only 103 people to feed now.
But more stressful than having a murderer on the loose, the actors in the gangway.
Lions have to eat, don't they? And as long as it's meat, they ain't too fussy.
Can we help in wash-up and can we help collecting glasses?
When you've been throwing knives for as long as I have, you never miss the mark.
Just trying to juggle past everyone.
I hear you're thinking of training as a bareback rider.
Keep going, I'm not fat. Get past me.
The night's theatrics seem to have put Sammy on a murderously short fuse.
Right, I'm off checking now. If they don't murder someone, I will.
Unaware of the drama in the kitchen, the question on all passengers' lips is, who done it?
We think it was Leo the lion tamer.
On a wing.
I think it's Hubert.
I think it's twin brother. Beryl.
Marjorie Mortensen.
You wouldn't want this lot on jury duty.
I think it might be our chef, Sammy. No cheese in tonight, I tell you.
Definitely me.
There's your killer, right there.
Actually, I'm pretty calm now. As long as nothing goes wrong with desserts.
I didn't touch it. I swear.
Oh, brilliant.
That was it, Sammy.
If that's the only other victim of the night's antics, they've got off pretty lightly.
Just to remind you, you need to leave the train straight away and head down the platform for the post-mortem to find out who done it.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have the murderer, who was Bella. She's here. Ah, little Bella.
I solved the murder mystery. I decided Bella was the killer. I've always been told he's always the quiet ones.
Which puts Sammy well and truly in the clear.
No, I'm not the murderer. Not tonight, but there is next week, so you never know.
With Piglet's engineers under the cosh to complete Repton, Mark has roped in trainee fireman Emma to help. She also happens to be his fiancée.
She's got her back to me. Must have done something wrong. I'm joking. Our romance is flourishing well. Wedding planning is afoot.
Emma and Mark's relationship blossomed when she worked as a trainee apprentice.
He often thinks that he knows better, but sometimes I will remember things that he will forget.
Right, it's not working.
Although officially he is top dog, sometimes I'll have a different idea.
Pass that screwdriver.
Yes, boss.
Despite her newfound love of Mark and steam engines, Emma hasn't always had it all.
Worked in a preschool, I've worked in retail, ended up flunking out of college and I had no idea what I was going to do. Steam sort of gave me a direction. And a lot of people look at me sort of weird when I say that because I'm 20 years old and I'm a woman and I live my life around big mucky steam engines.
Right there?
And big clumsy blokes.
What did I do?
Knocked me on the chin.
What was the tube? Yeah. That's me told, isn't it?
I've been knocked down a lot by people in life. Yeah, I struggled, but someone can say, oh, you're rubbish at this, and I can go, yeah, but do you know what? I built that.
And if they get Repton back on the rails, Emma can say she was part of steam history.
That last one was a struggle.
Well done. It's time to go. Let's get these doors down and get out of here. Now, Repton.
Good night, Repton.
Coming up, The future of Repton is left hanging in the balance.
I'm genuinely terrified at the moment. I'm waiting for a bang.
Summer season's in full swing and the sun is shining on the Heritage Railway. But inside the engine shed, it's raining on Mark's parade. He's finally filled Repton's boiler with water, and there's not a dry eye in the house.
Today we've basically filled it up and it leaks like a sieve. I'm soaking wet, the floor's soaking wet, but we have kept the dust down.
He's under pressure to fix all the leaks and get Repton ready for its boiler test.
It's the key point we're trying to get to. So at the end of the week when the insurance man comes, he'll sign it off as fit to go.
But that's easier said than done, and Mark's patience is beginning to wear thin.
This times like this, everybody's just go away. Let's get on with it. Because like, you look at that, it looks awful, but everybody's just straight to judge.
Time to back off. There's now to see. The railway specialises in bringing the past back to life, and one group celebrate times gone by in a very unusual way. Enter the odd-looking, man-powered velocipede.
A velocipede is kind of a generic term for a man-powered railway vehicle. Engineering excellence with a hint of madness as well.
What could be nicer on a summer's evening than a leisurely pedal through the countryside with the wind in your hair?
I don't think many people fully understand us. It's kind of mad British eccentricity, really.
Sort of thing that we used to do in the early days. We would be doing preservation and then we'd do something daft.
It's just so wonderful to be out here. See deer out in the fields, see my neighbours, especially through the bedroom windows.
I like filling in on a map where I've been.
These wild devotees of the velocipede would be the first to admit it might not be to everyone's taste.
What we think is normal, you might think is...
Yeah, very abnormal.
Yeah, the downside is definitely flies in your teeth.
Today, the velocipede gang are straying a tad further than the heritage line. It's Whitby Goth weekend, so they're setting up a track on the pier to raise money for charity.
You all right? Yeah.
We're here to raise funds for the RNLI. We're just going to do some coffin rides, with it being Goth weekend.
The deathly-looking sidecar will transport punters to the end of the pier, and back if they're lucky.
Not many people get a return ride in a coffin, is there, John?
Oh, not many, no.
Despite the weather, punters are out in force, but they're not the usual seaside crowd.
Right, I'll just try to find some customers, sorry.
At £1 one way or £2 return, who can resist a velocipede coffin ride?
It's a strange looking gizmo he's got there.
There's a coffin, I need to lay in it.
Obviously not this lot.
I'll just let you chin.
Don't disturb the bat, he's asleep at the moment.
Stop it.
We supply the flowers.
Despite the somewhat morbid nature of the spectacle, it's a crowd pleaser.
Who's next?
Old and young alike are coughing up to coffin ride.
It's a couple of special police. This feels completely wrong. Long arm of the law.
First time I've been in a coffin, and it won't be the last.
I say I hope for a few years yet. Maybe another fortnight. Depends how bad I get on with the wife.
It's been smashing. We've got loads of attention. Lots of photographs. Lots of money for the lifeboats, so it's a good thing.
The velocipedes raise over £800 for the RNLI.
Can't beat a day out at seaside.
It's the dawn of a big day at the engine sheds for Piglet and his team. Repton's 25-ton boiler is about to be lifted onto its frame in the pouring rain.
It does mean a lot to me, this engine. It was the first one I ever rode on, fired on, worked on, you know, when I came in at 16, sweet and innocent.
Fitting the boiler's a risky procedure. One false move and they could undo all their hard work.
When you're picking up sort of 25 tonnes of weight, you've got to be careful. I'll sleep better at night once this is done.
It's vital the boiler remains level at all times, so they begin removing parts to balance out the weight.
We're just taking every last bit of weight we can off the front end. So this is the one that'll make all the difference. That's all right. It's floating now. It's fully up in the air.
Finally balanced, 5 years hard graft now hangs freely in mid-air.
Good 20 tonne I'm holding on this bit of string. It is a big dog, isn't it? Yeah.
And the pristine chassis is rolled into place. The nail-biting question now is, will it actually fit?
You've just got to very, very carefully lower it down and in. If it doesn't fit, that's where we have a bit of a drama, because then we've got to make it fit.
The crew have to line up about 50 holes to bolt the boiler to the frame.
You'd think if you get one hole lined up, the rest kind of follow it. It doesn't work like that. It's getting a little bit stressful at the moment, because it's not going quite as planned. All carefully adjusted by a large hammer. Watch all your fingers, everyone.
Every hammer blow risks damaging the 83-year-old engine.
I'm genuinely terrified at the moment. Waiting for a bang.
After some final adjustments, the crew are confident enough to lower the boiler the last few inches.
This is it then. Will it go? I've got everything crossed. Many years of work for this moment. Come on. Gently, gently, gently. That's resting on the frame top. That's it then. Brilliant. Relief. Pressure's right off, you know what I mean? I feel a bit taller now.
It's a huge triumph for the North Yorkshire Moors Railway and a moment for the team to cherish.
1, 2, 3. Tasty! Tasty! My God, you could look a bit happier.
All our hard work, all those hundreds and hundreds of hours I've put in, Emma's put in, the rest of the boiler shop lads have put in.
The lads have done such an awesome job on this. It's going to run like a sewing machine, I hope.
I don't think it's going to be long before we're watching this one chuff up the line with a train on it.
But there's no rest for the wicked. As Repton moves on, another old engine, Eric Tracy, moves in.
You're always slightly playing catch-up. We never have the right amount of locomotives. It's the proverbial duck that's gliding gracefully along the water while its feet are paddling like mad underneath.
Repton is now happily pulling passengers from Gromont to Pickering. And rumour has it, Piglet has a little one on the way.
What did you do last week?
I bought a steam engine. It was either a new motorbike or an 1890s Belgium shunting loco.
So you went with the steam engine?
So I went with a steam engine.
So how's that gone down at home, Piglet?
She thought I meant like a model.
Miniature one?
Yeah, but when I actually told her it's a full-size small one,
Is that only 4 metres long?
She went airborne. Yeah, she's all right now, but I've had to buy her a new car to keep pace. So I've not got no spare money now for as long as I live.
We might be over the beast from the east, but there's ice terror still causing chaos for the extreme winter road rescue team, new Monday at 8. But new next tonight, it's heating up in the studio as Bonnie Tyler and Kerry Ellis brighten up your Friday night with Jane McDonald and friends.